Somebody better tell Josh Allard that he's an interim coach because he sure is not recruiting like it, and it's being noticed by national media. Mountaineer Paul and I are going to talk about it right after this word from our sponsor.
This episode of Hoops from the Hills is brought to you by Dutch Miller Automotive, where friends and family pricing means you get the best deal right up front on any new or pre-loved vehicle in stock every time.
With brands like Chevrolet, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Kia, Hyundai, Ford, GMC, Buick, and Subaru, the Dutch Miller Automotive family is always growing and ready to put you in the car or truck you've been searching for.
Check out our inventory across West Virginia at DutchMillerAuto.com or come in today to the home of friends and family pricing, only at a Dutch Miller Automotive store near you.
What is going on, Mountaineer Nation and college hoops fans around the world? This is Couz.
And my name is Mountaineer Paul.
And we present to you another episode of
Hoops from the Hills, baby.
We are back, and we are better than ever. And we are here today to talk about some positive news surrounding the West Virginia basketball program, what Coach Josh Allard and his staff are doing, which is now drawing the attention of some very prominent members of the national media, most prominently, Mr. Joe Lunardi. Lunardi had an article in his latest bracketology. He kind of focused on West Virginia, had some really nice things to say, and here's what he had to say. When Coach Bob Huggins was arrested and charged with driving under the influence in June, the prospects for West Virginia basketball seemed bleak. First came the resignation of the Naismith Hall of Famer. Then came a predictable exodus of key personnel, namely forward Trey Mitchell and guard Kerr Kriisa. But interim coach Josh Allard went to work, and quickly. He convinced Kriisa, the former Arizona standout, to stick around. He also retained transfers Jesse Edwards and Raekwon Battle, while adding late portal pickups Noah Farrakhan and big man Akuk. The same Mountaineers who nearly fell out of our projections in the wake of Huggins' departure are now at their highest point, a rising number 10 seed. I like that word rising, by the way. Since the spring, WVU has a legit chance to finish in the top half of a 14-team Big 12, all but assuring another NCAA bid. So, Paul, what are your thoughts on what Joe Lunardi had to say there about Mountaineers and Coach Josh Allard and what they're doing this offseason?
Well, I would say, and I need to make a mental note myself. I think we all get caught up in the negative publicity West Virginia gets, and we don't focus on the nice things that are said and the narratives that are driven when they are out there. And here is a perfect example of Lunardi trying to turn this thing around from some of the negativity that was out and about a couple of months ago. So the narrative is not always all bad about West Virginia, me and the media, and I think that's important to point out here. A lot of respect to Joe's way. He's kind of admitting he was wrong, or at least a little bit hasty on the fallout and probably the dismissal of West Virginia as a program that can make the NCAA tournament. But at the end of the day, a lot of work had to be done, and I think it was a miracle that was done by Jay Kuntz, Josh Allard and company. And this is just another feather in their cap, man. I'm extremely proud of them. Extremely proud to be a Mountaineer today. Backyard Brawl is coming up tomorrow. We're all excited about that. And this is just more positive news for the program.
Absolutely. And look, man, I got a kick out when Josh Allard was on Three Guys Before the Game a couple weeks ago. He was making a joke about how big the word interim was on his when
That's
they made
the first
the
thing I
announcement.
noticed.
He noticed it too. So everybody noticed it. He was obviously laughing and joking about it because he understands the situation he's in. But I do figure that I'm sure Josh is a competitive guy, and I'm sure his staff, they're all former players, man. They're all competitive. And I'm sure they want to – their goal here, I'm sure, is to go out and prove everybody wrong, especially, West Virginia's administration, that, hey, we're going to kick ass and take names, and we're going to show you guys that we can do this. And what better way to do that, Paul, number one, you got to win, right? That's the number one thing they've got to do. And that all starts with keeping the talent you have, which they tried to do and did a good job, I thought, for the most part. And then we're able to bring in the guys like a Cook, and the Farrakhan's of the world, and the the Quinn Slazinskis, those guys to replace what we lost. And then what's even better is what's going on and how they're recruiting for the future. They are, I'm telling you, they are in the mix for some very, very highly touted recruits. The first one we're going to talk about is Naas Cunningham. Naas Cunningham is a top 30 prospect, folks. And here's an article that I'm going to share with you from WV SportsNow. Our good friend Ethan Bach wrote. Talks about Cunningham's visiting WVU. The 2024 top 30 prospect Naas Cunningham is set to officially visit West Virginia this weekend, a source tells WV SportsNow. Cunningham will be in town for the football edition of the Backyard Brawl against Pitt on Saturday. And by the way, what a great time to bring him here, right? He's going to get to experience the atmosphere of a night game inside the Milan Puskar Stadium, a sold-out one. It's going to be great. Anyway, current WVU guard Jose Perez will serve as Cunningham's player host. Great decision.
Wow.
Because he's been a home run hitter when he's been hosting the guys in the past. We can't forget that. West Virginia offered Cunningham over the weekend in California as staff was in person. Cunningham is currently a 4-star recruit in all of the recruiting databases, but once was number 1 in his class back in 22. Cunningham has received offers from Arizona State, Arkansas, Auburn, Bryant, UConn, Creighton, DePaul, Duke, Florida State. I'm not going to go down the whole list. All the top programs, including Duke, Kansas, and Kentucky, have offered this guy. That's what you need to know. Cunningham has visited Memphis and Rutgers so far. Dang it. Cunningham played for Overtime Elite this past season, averaging 14.4 points, 2.3 assists, 5.3 rebounds, and 1.9 steals in 30.2 minutes. Overtime Elite has emerged as one of the best developing programs in the country. Asir Thompson for the Pistons and Amen Thompson for the Rockets both recently were drafted in the top 5 of the NBA draft. West Virginia recently offered 24 prospects. Carmelo, well, this gets into some other guys they've offered, but we want to focus on Naas Cunningham in this segment of the video. Paul, what are your thoughts about Naas Cunningham getting an offer and then visiting the Mountaineers this weekend?
So exciting. I was able to obviously research a little bit more about Naas. I've known about him since 2022 when he was the number 1 overall prospect, but hadn't watched a whole lot of film on him. So this prompted me to go do that. He is silky smooth. He's a point guard for them, by the way. And, he's got a great mid-range jumper, really deadly from 3-point range. He's not a super explosive athlete from what I've seen, but he has some explosion. What really makes him, though, is he's 6'7". He's a passer, elite passer. I'm talking elite. Think about as good as it gets. And that's what he is. And then also, he has aspirations to be Defensive Player of the Year nationally this year. And if you look at the people he has around him, I'm telling you, West Virginia on staff right now could be rivaled by some of the guys he has teaching him where he's at right now. It's the best of the best. And some of the videos that he was going through as a coach, and they were pointing out some of the things he needs to get better at. And he was going up against 2 guys that went in the top 10. I'm sorry. 2 guys that went inside the top 10 of the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And he was performing against those guys at an elite level. So if that doesn't tell you what you need to hear, I don't know what will. If we landed this guy, he would immediately, I can't even explain it. He's one of those one and done players, most likely. Once he puts some weight onto a frame and gets ready for Big 12 ball, I mean, It may take a couple of months, but thankfully the schedule doesn't start out with conference play.
Right.
I really do think this kid would, considering we're going to have who we have next year and, coming back, obviously with Farrakhan and others, man, we could have a super explosive and exciting team. for next year. I'm extremely stoked about it.
Yeah. And just as a side note, he was recruited in California. That's where he attended high school, and obviously is now playing for Overtime Elite as well. But he's actually originally from New Jersey, so he's actually
Yeah,
from the eastern part of the country. And West
it's our
Virginia has
recruiting
been doing
base.
absolutely. They've been doing a much better job the last couple of years recruiting, even before Huggins was gone. They were doing a much better job recruiting that part of the country, kind of getting back to the roots. I mean, when Huggins got to West Virginia, he was doing a bang up job recruiting the New York, New Jersey area. And then after we moved to the Big 12, it kind of fell by the wayside a little bit. But they were trying, and they've been trying to get back to that. And so far, they've been able to. And this is one of those guys from that area. Like I said, even though he's playing in California now, he's originally from New Jersey, so he's a New Jersey, New York. He's got that tough. He's probably got that tough New York, New Jersey mindset. Like they play with up there. Basketball means a lot up there.
Extremely intelligent kid.
Yeah, in that part of the country, I would argue that basketball means more than football. So they take it extremely serious up there. So, and West Virginia has been good when they've recruited that area well.
Where's the backyard? Like in that part of the country, there's very little backyards to go out and throw football.
Right.
Basically, you have to go to like the Central Park or wherever your park is to play football in those areas or at school. But you can pick up a ball and there's a court probably a block away everywhere you look. So I think that's one of the reasons it's so popular and kids get so skilled is because, even the kids that don't play basketball, organized in those parts of the country are still really good basketball players. So you can go to the courts and face somebody that might be better than you're playing in high school.
Right.
It happened to me a couple times at the YMCA and other places. Guys that never played ball in their life in high school dominated the YMCA.
Yeah. And believe it or not, according to sources, according to reports, Cunningham is not the only player visiting this weekend. There is another 4-star player, this one in the 2025 class, that could also be visiting this weekend, Chance Mallory. Says WVU basketball again. Ethan Bach, WVU basketball to host 4-star guard Chance Mallory for a weekend visit. You see him there. Apparently, he's visited Maryland already. But it says WVU basketball will host 2025 4-star guard Chance Mallory for an unofficial visit this weekend. A source confirmed with WV SportsNow. 24/7 Sports' Travis Branham was the first to report on Tuesday afternoon. Mallory, a 5'9", who's 5'9", will be in town for the football edition of the Backyard Brawl. Mallory, a native of Charlottesville, Virginia, received an offer from West Virginia back in May. WVU assistant DeMar Johnson made the direct contact with Mallory on the first day of the contacting period and has been in touch throughout the summer. Mallory currently plays at St. Anne's Belfield School in Virginia as he is wrapping up his sophomore year there. Mallory also plays AAU ball for Team Thrill, which is run by current Toronto Raptors guard Will Barton. Mallory has received offers from Butler, Liberty, Maryland, NJIT, Radford, Seton Hall, UCF, Virginia, VCU, Virginia Tech, West Virginia, and others. Mallory has visited Liberty, Maryland, Virginia, and Virginia Tech so far. Mallory averaged 17.5 points, 3.7 rebounds, 5.2 assists, and 2.2 steals during his sophomore year at STAB. And it just talks about him joining Naas Cunningham on this visit. And we'll stop the article there. But, Paul, what have you had? I know you've had a chance to take a peek a little bit at some Chance Mallory highlights. What are your thoughts, man?
Well, he really knows how to use his smaller stature. He's got body control. He really does. He's really good at tossing his smaller body into bigger players and still getting the shot off with accuracy at that. But by far and away, his most impressive stat or feature about his game is his ability to shoot the ball. He was pulling up from beyond the logo in several of the highlights that I watched. And obviously, if I had to guess, Steph Curry was probably a huge influence for this kid. He comes off screens, catches it, and lets it fly. He's got an extremely quick release. But he would easily be the best shooter on the team this year if he played for us as a sophomore in high school. That's how deadly he looked from the highlights. Now, these are highlights. I get that. So I don't know what his exact percentages and stat lines are. But based on his form, the way the ball looks coming out of his hand, it's like a good quarterback. You can just see it. Same thing with the release on this kid. It's very technically sound and almost no wasted motion. a very quick, snappy release. And I'm telling you, man, just go check out Chance Mallory highlights if you don't believe me. He's one of the best shooters I've seen in just a little bit of time that I watched coming out of high school in quite a while.
Yeah. And again, he's 2025. So back to the original point of this video, Josh Otter and his staff are recruiting for the future. And number one, they plan to be here. They have that much confidence in their ability, and they have intentions of proving themselves worthy of that. And two, it's just the right thing to do, right? I mean, even if they don't get hired for the permanent position, they know that they want to leave West Virginia basketball in a good place. And in order to do that, you've got to recruit. I mean, that's part of the job, and they're doing it to the best of their ability. I really like, a lot of I don't know specifically, obviously Mallory was offered by DeMar Johnson, but we've seen reports about, Jordan McCabe being out in Phoenix and out west doing a lot of recruiting out there. I'm sure he's got contacts out there from where he played at UNLV, right? So he's using, his contacts out there, doing recruiting out west. I mean, they're going all over the country, man. And I'm telling you, that's one of the things about hiring such a young staff. Number one, they can relate to the players, which, I've talked about before, Paul. But two, the energy, man. They're high energy. They're young. They're energetic. They're excited. Most of them are new, or at least somewhat new in this college coaching ranks. So they're excited, and they're gung ho. They want to prove themselves. When you want to prove yourself with something, what do? You work your tail off, and that's what these guys are doing. And I absolutely love it. And it makes me happy for Coach Eilert. Now we may not land these guys, but I don't remember West Virginia. It's very rare that we're even in the conversation for these kinds of players historically, is it not? I mean, we were able to get.
That's something I was going to bring up earlier.
Yeah. So I mean, we had Oscar Shibwe. He was the only one really we've had at that caliber for, since I can remember. I mean, really, you got to go back to the 2010 Final Four team, maybe, when we had, Devin Ebanks was a pretty highly talented recruit. I think Truck Bryant was a pretty highly talented recruit, some of those guys, but
Alexander was.
Yeah. But I mean, since then, it's been minimal. I mean, we've had some guys that have turned out to be great players, like Deuce McBride's, Javon Carter's, but they weren't highly recruited, so.
Well, this is just a philosophy change is all this really is. Bob Huggins was known to be a 2 to 4 year kind of guy, right? He would take a recruit that was a project and turn him into a really good player by year 3, year 4. And that was his philosophy. And that's how his coaching staff worked and operated. Now things have changed, and Hugs was beginning to change, as you can see. But I think he was moving more towards this kind of recruiting. Like he famously said to John Calipari, the reason we get along is because I don't recruit the same players you do. Yeah, and I think that's a very, very interesting take when you really pull it out and think about it. Bob Huggins he won with lesser talent because he was a developer of talent. John Calipari is an elite recruiter. It's just a different skill, right? And you go in, you bring the best players that are already developed in, but you've got to keep them focused and have their eye on the prize, right? It's just two different skill sets. They're both hard to do. And Hugs was having to change at 69, 70 years old into this, right? And that's why you hear the stories of he was relying on the young coaching staff. It was probably because he had to. I don't think Hugs he's not the kind of guy that he's a teacher, and I think that was, if you go look at some of the older videos of Hugs teaching defense and stuff like that, man, it's not like the old shucks that you hear him in the press conferences where he says few words. He's very articulate in these videos that I've watched, and loved teaching the game. And really knew how to speak the language, man. I get mesmerized by it. But yeah, so, basically overall philosophy change, and I'm glad to see it. I think we all wanted to be a team that recruited high in our lives as fans, and now we're getting it.
Yeah, and there's 3 words that stick out to me, and I don't know if Josh Otter and his staff are using this philosophy or not, or this key word or motto. I don't know if they're using this motto or not, but if they're not, they need to be. because they're recruiting like it, and that's why not us? Why not us? Why not WVU? We have some of the nicest facilities in the country. We have an energetic, young coaching staff. We have a new AD. Our NIL game is really good right now. We can compete with most of the programs around the country in NIL, if not all. So why not West Virginia, right? Why not?
Right.
So why not go after the 4 and 5 star guys? Why not? If we can stack up in NIL and facilities and coaching, Morgantown's a fun college town that guys will want to be. A lot of players will want to be in. So why not go after them? And if you don't shoot your shot, you can't make it. I tell my kids,
all the shots you can't take.
Absolutely, I tell my kids I coach that all the time. If you don't shoot the ball, you can't score. Whether you go, if you're 0 for 0, it's still 0, right? So
right.
They're shooting their shot, man, and I love it. I really love the fact that they're going after these guys. I always wanted Hugs to go, and maybe Hugs did, and he just didn't get them. I don't know. But I love to see this staff being aggressive. I love to see them going after guys that, we honestly didn't think we'd ever be able to get, at least during Hugs' era. So I'm excited about it, man. I'm excited to see not only what this season holds, but the future of West Virginia basketball moving forward. And I really, really hope, man, that Josh Allard and his staff do such a good job that they're forced to keep them. That's what I hope happens, because they're checking every box, man. They're recruiting well. They're great in front of the media. They seem like just genuine good. He seems like a genuinely good person. And he's, the staff he's brought on are guys who Mountaineer fans love. So I wish him nothing but success, and I hope that's what happens.
Same here, brother.
Yeah. Well, guys, listen, we appreciate you guys for being here today. If you haven't subscribed to Hoops from the Hills yet, we ask that you please do so. Hit that red, white, black, whatever color it is on your device. Hit that subscribe button for us. Also, don't forget about our football channels, Mountaineer Paul Talks Football and Couz's Corner. We cover West Virginia football, little Big 12, conference realignment, those types of things. Also, drop a comment below. Let us know what you think about these guys, Naas Cunningham and Chance Mallory visiting Morgantown, and what Josh Allard and his staff are doing right now. And then, obviously, like it. If you like this video, guys, hit that thumbs up button for us. It really helps that algorithm. With that being said, Paul, do you have any parting words before we get out of here?
Eat shit, Pitt.
That's right, baby. Let's go Mountaineers. Q Country Roads. Let's get a win, baby. We're out, guys.